I would like to start off by having everyone introduce themselves and talk a little bit about your background and your current project.
Hi everyone, and happy International Women's Day to all the women here and all the gentlemen who support feminism as well. My name is RANIA HOTEIT. I'm the CEO of ID4A Technologies. We're a San Francisco-based technology company that operates globally. We are specialized in design for manufacturing applications, and I am also a social impact leader in multiple initiatives, including women empowerment, gender equality, and education. And my work in women empowerment is very much focused on empowering women into business leadership and entrepreneurship. And in gender equality, I work with organizations to build strategies to bring more equity to their teams and integrate it within the culture of their organizations. And my work in education focuses on bringing design and technology education to schools across the United States, and now I'm expanding this initiative also globally as well.
Hi, happy International Women's Day, everyone. My name is Evelyn Weber. I'm the founder and CEO of NARA.life, and we lend money to women in developing worlds. We empower them, and we have come up with an alternative way to assess credit risk and get people sort of back who are unbanked and unidentified a bank account and an identity, and it's all cloud-based. And it's our way of lifting women out of poverty and using technology to scale.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Sarah Pendrick. I'm the founder of Girl Talk Network. We are a nonprofit and a platform for women in all stages of life. We have two areas. We throw events like this, celebration events, women empowerment events, and then we have our free school programs where we travel around the United States and have a customized program for women in college, high school, and middle school. The reason that I started Girl Talk is because when I was a young adult, I felt that I was lacking relatable female mentors that I had access to. And we're doing great work. I'm very appreciative for all of us. We're all doing great work. All of you guys are here doing great work and supporting, and I'm so excited to be here. But yeah, that's just a little bit about Girl Talk Network.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Mason, and I'm here representing Surefire Girls, which is an organization I started back in 2013. But my day job is I founded Caspian Agency. In Caspian, we create and produce large-scale social change conferences around the world. So at the United Nations, the Skull World Forum, Omidyar Network, Rockefeller Foundation. So using that as a background, I decided what I want to do is produce teenage girls conferences. And so we started that in 2013 with the goal being that there are so many awesome organizations for girls, as we've seen, but what if you could put them all under one tent? What if they could be all under one tent for one day and every girl could have the opportunity to see the buffet platter of opportunity and programs? So Surefire is truly a spotlight. We are a metaphorical spotlight. You don't join Surefire, you come to Surefire to join other organizations, because we thought that was really missing. And so we did it in 2013 in LA, we did it in 2014 in LA, and I am happy to report there's an amazing woman you're going to be hearing from, Jackie Zahner, who is going to see if we can bring it to other places around the country. So that's very exciting, and we also have our sites on the UN, which has asked us to bring it there, so we'll see, but we'd love to see if we can find a funder to do that. So that's what we do.
Very cool, super inspiring. So let's start by talking a little bit about what makes each one of you passionate about the work that you do.
The reason why I do what I do is because I have a very deep drive and ambition and desire to be able to help and support other people and be able to extend my knowledge and expertise to others as well. And particularly I'm speaking about my work in women empowerment that I'm very passionate about, because I personally did not have much resources, support, or guidance from a very young age, so I had to carve out my own path, and that's the main reason why I'm very driven to be able to empower and inspire and support other women to go into leadership and be able to celebrate them and celebrate their achievements, and also help them to break their own stereotypes and reach higher grounds.
Great answer. Well, you know, I started something called the Philippines Foundation. I was former banker, and don't hold that against me. But I found my path and started working with predominantly women in the Philippines and rural women. And my idea was that if I educate the mother, then she will have a great impact in making sure that her children go to school. And it's always sort of multi-generational. And it really became a passion because for 5 years doing this, well, actually maybe 10 years doing it in total in Africa, but 5 years in the Philippines doing this with women who were in rural Philippines who had no access to finance or whose education was up to second grade education. The little contribution that I made with my banking background to her, to educate her and uplift her, really created a catalyst, like a great change per se. And just with $100 of me giving her advice and access to capital, she got so excited. And I know that the two things that she needed that I provided her was something that I know that she will pass on generationally. And to see a mother whose prime purpose really, and especially in these rural villages, is to empower herself so that her kids stay in school really motivates me, because I know that the change is not just her, but her whole family, and it's multi-generational, it's sustainable, and just to see a woman's face smile as a mother, very proud, it touches on my sensitive nerve as a mother and as a child of a powerful mother as well. So that's what sort of keeps me going and helping more women out and empowering them out of poverty.
That's amazing. So passion to me is actually extremely important, so I'm happy that you asked this question. Women are my passion. I mean, we are so strong, right? Who thinks that we're strong? Just alone, but together we're a force, and we're not meant to be alone. So I created Girl Talk because I never wanted a woman to feel alone. I wanted them to have a place where they could express their passions and have resources to find out, how can I do something? I'm sure a lot of you are here today because you have that question. You want to know how. You have a passion and you want to know, what can I do with it? Just to let you know, just the fact that you're living in your passion is enough as to how. But you should figure out your why. And I figured out my why, and it's because helping people and seeing women grow is what fulfills me. And I saw what I was passionate about, I felt it, and then I created something that was missing. Something that was missing for me, like I said, was a place to go find relatable, successful female mentors. Hence why I created these events and the nonprofit and our school program. So passion is something that I think drives everything. And if you're lost in the crowd and you're trying to figure something out, just look inside you and know what your passion is, and the how will come after.
Thank you. I think it's interesting that each of us have a personal connection to why we did what we did and what we created. And for me, it was, I grew up in Idaho, little poor kid, washing my hair in the sink. I was really excited about showers when I got to college. They're awesome. And the thing I realized when I was in college is there were 5 people that changed my life. Serendipitously came into my life. The dance coach who taught me how to stand straight. The woman who taught me maybe I shouldn't have big fat permed hair, which looked weird. There was the debate coach. Anyway, there were people who came into my life serendipitously. And it's a little bit like what you guys were saying about mentors. I thought, wait a second, we don't have to rely on serendipity. We have a world where we can actually consciously create this stuff. So Surefire, to me, was about consciously creating a place where you could learn all the life skills you don't learn at home, you don't learn at school, but you wish you knew. The second thing is, I started to learn about networking. Nobody talks about networking. When you're a little poor kid, you don't talk about networking. And the issue is, there's so many separations between the schools, especially in LA, so it's very different in Idaho. LA is like a whole other world of separate, enclaves. But those enclaves never come together. And I think one of the most exciting things that happened at Surefire for me was bringing in some of the girls from schools that had never met other girls from other schools and smooshing them up together for the first time ever and showing them how much they had in common, and they discovered it on their own. Because wherever they came from in LA, for whatever different reasons, not everybody ever asked them what their dreams were. Maybe if they were from Marlboro, they never asked them because they just assumed they were going to be a doctor and a lawyer. And the girl actually wanted to become a tattoo artist. And she knew she'd be thrown out of her house if she told anybody. The girl from Animo had never been asked what she wanted to do with her life because everyone assumed she was just going to be pregnant. And so they bonded that day. That girl from Animo, that girl from Marlboro. That doesn't happen. That to me is what's exciting, and that to me is the type of thing that I get excited about, is bringing together those people, because I would have loved to have that in Idaho. So that's what really drives me.
Great answer. So where do you all envision some of the greatest opportunities for change when it comes to empowering more women and more girls, and how do we drive more of those opportunities?
There are 5 components to women empowerment that we all need to know. 1 is women's sense of self-worth. Number 2 is their right to make choices. Number 3 is their right to have power and control over their lives, whether inside or outside of the home. Number 4 is their right to have access to opportunities and resources. And number 5 is their right to be able to influence social change. And this is through that they are able to bring justice, whether that is social and economic, at their local level or internationally, globally speaking. So we can't really talk about women empowerment if we don't also address issues in terms of advancing gender equity and equality, and empowering women's autonomy across the board, whether that is political, social, health, economical. So I think that change can only happen when we're addressing all this at the same time with the exact same rigor. So there's plenty of gaps and plenty of opportunities for everyone to contribute in order to ensure that the core definition of women empowerment is actually achieved. I personally, from my experience, I see that the most empowering areas of opportunities and influence are in education and training, because this is where we can leverage mental shifts and perspective changes and re-educate and reinvent how social and ideological structures are created and how they could be recreated and reinvented to create a completely new society where we envision there is equality and there is empowerment for women. Within the educational and training area, gender training is very important for both men and women, especially where there is a lot of interaction between the genders, to ensure that both genders understand their roles, not from the stereotypical standpoint, but from a gender sensitivity standpoint. So we actually work towards elimination of stereotyping, elimination of sexism, elimination of all sorts of discrimination against women that happen every single day. And particularly there is an area where women that are above a traditional age to go to school, they're very discouraged to change their lives. So I find that this is a particular area that we could start to tap into in order to encourage more women that feel very settled in what they're used to or what they've been conditioned to train them and then re-educate them and help to give them new opportunities into the future for a better future. They don't have to stay within the conditions that they're in.
Thank you.
That's a great response. Mine is a little bit kind of like that on the back of that. One thing I'd say is that every one of us in America here we're quite lucky because you can tap into resources. There's resources available if you want to empower yourself, be it yourself or your community or your friend or someone that's just, in terms of what she's saying, just to educate them. Now, I grew up in the Philippines and I have a mom who, she wasn't really educated, and when it came to America, she was like, you can go to college, sure, fine, but don't you just want to live home? And I was like, no, I don't. But she really wants me to just, aspire to have kids and get married. And I did the very thing that she didn't want to do, is wait as long as possible to get married and wait as long as possible to have a baby. But, to your point is that I think that's what she knew. That's what she knew. She knew she comes from the Philippines, that's what women did, and that's what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to stay close to home. But I know that the root cause of that really I think in order to change and empower someone, you really have to go. It's a slogan within my foundation. It's called "Back to the Village." At least for me, as a daughter of an immigrant, I came here when I was 15. I had lots of sort of things that I thought were normal. Like I used to, cook every day for my boyfriend, and I was an investment banker. And someone said, "What are you doing? You're in America. Like, you don't have to cook for him. Let him order in." And I thought, "Wait, what do you mean? I can do that?" She's like, "Oh." So there was a lot of these stigmas that were in my head, and I was like, "Oh, it's my mother." Brush her away. But she didn't know any better, right? So I think for me, when I say I go back to the village, it's really creating an educational platform and giving a woman access to an education, access to capital, so she can lift herself out of poverty. And I think that's the biggest sense of growth that a lot of people want to come to America. I mean, maybe more Canada these days than America, but still, it's the sense of really creating opportunity. And for me, I think in America, we're all very fortunate if we just work a little harder to find that resource. You can be empowered. You can find empowered. You can do all that stuff. But to a woman in a village of the Philippines who has a kid and is, she's never left, her village or her little island, I think she's the one I want to tap into. She's the one that doesn't know any better, is probably cooking for her boyfriend and didn't know she can order in for him, So for me, that's who I'm tapping into, and that's the area of growth is to educate her, to empower her, to make sure that she trains her daughter, her son, whatever, because men here, not just women, can also be advocates for women, and that's where those are the people I'm reaching.
I totally relate to that too, by the way. I moved from Morocco at the age of 15 as well, and that's the same mentality that you're trying to get rid of, but you have to kind of adapt and pivot and educate the next generation on how things are done. But thank you.
So I agree with what these amazing women are saying too about education. First off, to empower myself and create change, and to get through the obstacles or hard, dark times that I went through, I educated myself. I got my bachelor's in psychology, and then I moved to my master's in family therapy. And I took those skills and developed a program for women. I also think that the biggest thing for change and empowerment really comes with yourself, in order to, not for preach for lack of a better word, but to talk about empowerment, to teach empowerment, to make people feel empowered, to really impact a change. You really need to be speaking from the heart. And I truly believe that. I think that it can start simply in this room right now. If you had a reason that you came here, maybe the reason that you thought you were here didn't happen, but something else happened. So you could right now write down something that you have, just one takeaway from today, and then empower yourself to take action for that. If you're inspired by someone that you heard speak, go up and talk to them. Talk about how you can collab together, how you can work together. Thank them for being honest and being on the stage. I thank all of you for being here and taking your time today. You obviously came from very important lives to be here. So I think that it all starts within ourselves. Stop being so judgmental and more compassionate. Tell people when they inspire you, and work together.
I think the one thing that we talk about a lot in our office is find your superpower. So, and what we usually say is, if you notice that in somebody else, if it's a thing where you're like, I can't believe you can do that, that's amazing. To recognize other people's superpower because they might not see it themselves. And I would say my superpower is creating ecosystems. That's what I do at Caspian, and that's what Surefire was all about. So I took my existing superpower, which is creating ecosystems of change with our conference company, and just applied that over the girl world, and it's really easy for us to replicate. So my first thing would be to really create change, be a connector. Women are natural connectors. Connect the crap out of people. Like, I went to this Women in the World event just last night, and I talked to this lady, and she said, I'm doing documentaries, I want to connect with corporates. So I was like, I know a guy who just quit his entire job is connecting documentaries with corporate funders. Let me connect you. So I think connections already, and the same goes for girls. Like, whenever I meet a girl, I'm like, all right, what's your awesome, what do you want to do, let's get you an internship. Obviously, you don't want to send a girl who doesn't want to do that to me, because I will already have her running for office and becoming class president. But I think the second thing that I would love to talk about is funding, because I know that's a big part of today. And I would say, anybody here do impulse purchases? Like, I had to have those shoes, whoopsie, I bought them. And handbag and whatever. Do impulse giving to women. For hell's sake, you know, right? We have purses that are sitting in our basement that we've never used potentially, or shoes we've never worn. If this was worth X and you had invested that in a woman, would you have missed it? Even if you don't get a tax write-off. I didn't get a tax write-off for the shoes. You don't get tax write-offs for buying handbags. You don't even think about getting a tax write-off. Who to tax write-offs? Just give and go, well, that was my impulse purchase. That was my impulse give. If you're doing it already, do it for women.
These answers keep getting better and better. But let's talk about my favorite subject and also my guilty pleasure, social media, and how important it is now because it allows us to access global audiences and also amplify each of our messages. How effective is social media for the work that you do? And how do you also use it effectively?
The viral nature of social media is what makes us so excited about it and what really gives it its greatest value. I think that people don't just use social media anymore like it was envisioned to be at first, where it's just about connecting and maintaining connections with close friends and relationships. But it became more about involvement, engagement, sharing, interaction, whether that's through politics, social change, innovation, business. Every single topic is now very accessible through social media. And especially for the work that we're doing here with women empowerment, it's been such a great tool for the work that I do to use social media, especially when it comes to global entrepreneurship type of initiatives where I'm involved in a lot of global competitions to bring in entrepreneurs to these competitions from all over the world, for example. And recently I started to get involved to support also the MENA region with a WIIW competition, which I will talk about a little bit later. But particularly with this initiative, it was about supporting women throughout the Middle East, North African region. And it was really amazing to see the response that we were able to get through social media. The engagement of Arab women from all over that region was so heightened because they were so excited about the initiative to begin with, because the initiative is supported by the World Bank, and it's aimed to fund and support women entrepreneurs from the region and put them through a program for 4 months to help them build successful businesses. So the response rate was so high, and it was mainly because of social media shares. Most of these women would have probably not been able to hear about this if we did not have such platforms to share it with. We received submissions from women all over the world. At the end, we had to select only 200 people. But again, just being able to attract people from different parts of the world and engage them and being able to extract all these ideas that otherwise they would have stayed hidden locally or within their own regions if we're not able to cross-pollinate through social media as well. That's been really the most important part in the work that I do.
Well, social media in the Philippines is probably, I mean, it's the selfie capital of the world, right? You know, everyone's taking a selfie, and everyone, including the woman in the village that I help, is on Facebook. And so it is quite important for me, just because I think it's a way for a woman, because there's 7,200 islands in the Philippines, it's hard to connect with the world outside of your little island because the infrastructure doesn't exist. So for them, it's just a way to peer into the life of somebody else, some far away that they could see and dream and hear about. Now, I was recently asked, you know, I was getting interviewed and they said, well, what do you think about the future of the Philippines, about the youth? You know, they're going crazy. And I thought, well, no, they're not. I mean, they're crazy because when I was growing up, I was either going to be a doctor, an engineer, an accountant, and guess what I became? I became an accountant. So now you have these kids, because of social media, you know, realizing that they don't have to listen to their mom. They actually can do whatever they want to. And for so long, the Philippines has just, you know, acquiesce to whatever the church said or what the government said. They've just become, yeah, you know what, that's them, that's what I'm supposed to do, and I have to follow the rule and the law, and it's fatalistic. But then these kids who are on social media who see the world somewhere else and see someone in Afghanistan raising above, or Pakistan raising above, and just really kind of empowering themselves, they thought, well, I can do that. And now they're going out and telling their parents, you know what, I'm going to be whatever I want to. And in fact, Mom, I'm gay. And, and it's completely caused a lot of change for people in the Philippines, because you now have a defiant, not so much defiant, but an empowered culture. And it's empowered for the youth, but maybe perhaps defiant from the perspective of a mother. And so I think social media really plays a huge role in educating what kids would not normally have access to. And they get to share and really tell other people what they're doing, and they form a community amongst each other. And I think it's a huge thing in a country that has a tendency to become oppressive. And so I think social media does play a huge role in my work in educating the youth. And actually, the youth are now teaching the parents, so.
So I have a little love-hate relationship with social media. I think it's extremely important, and I think us as women, it's our job to use it for good. I'm very fortunate. My biggest platform online is our Instagram at Girl Talk Network, and I use it every day to inspire women. And I have amazing messages from these women that are like, I really felt like you were speaking to me today in your post, and I felt really alone. And that's really empowering, that I want to use it for good. I've also been very fortunate that our first ever event was completely sold out due to social media. But I also see the other side of it in the schools and in real time 2017, how much it's affecting these young girls negatively. So I think that what we can really do is use our platforms, promote our businesses, of course, but use it for good and send positivity into the world. We also have the power to choose what we're looking at. If you don't like something that someone's saying, unfollow them, don't follow them. If it makes you feel bad, step away from it. But really just use your own voice, and even use it as a tool to connect to women. There's someone that you might think that you will never speak to, message them. That's the greatest tool ever, to use it for good.
I could not agree with you more. The thing that really shocked me being a Gen X kid, where the worst thing was, a note that got passed, was dealing with the focus groups and talking about social media with teenage girls. And yet, on the other hand, I totally saw what you're saying, which is the opportunity that obviously I never had a chance to talk to girls around the globe. So I feel like it's the same thing. It's like this love-hate relationship of the horrificness that they can do to each other online, and yet the awesomeness of world change and connection and openness and access. So to me, the thing that I would have loved to have done if we'd had enough funding for it is we had an ambassador program that we wanted to have, because I feel like as a Gen Xer, I'm never going to social media as much and as good as a teenager. My selfie skills suck. So,
Come to the Philippines.
Yeah, exactly. So I need to go to the Philippines and learn something. But to me, it was about really engaging the girls, because they're going to have the best feeder of messages into those platforms. And for us, it was about, okay, how do we empower these ambassadors to maybe have hashtags, to really take control of their social media. And then the one thing that we did have at Surefire that I loved was a media literacy guy. This was actually a guy from Vogue who felt like it was his penance, which was awesome, because he was the photoshopper of all of those pictures. And he showed how all these people, even on social media, are photoshopping it, and they don't even look like that. And watching these girls, I thought, well, surely they know that. They're savvy. They had no idea. These are girls in LA, Los Angeles. And they were like, oh my God, Britney Spears doesn't look like that? I'm like, what? Her waist is like this big. It can't look like that. And so I think we can provide platforms that can educate girls, that can empower girls, and then feed them into that social media system as much as possible.
Thank you. And so I know we're running a little bit low on time, but I really want to give you the opportunity to give the audience a call to action because this is what the panel is all about, and tell the audience of supporters, investors, influencers how they can support your work and help empower more women.
The best way for you to help me to help other women and children as well, because I work in education a lot at the same time. Just reach out to me, connect with me. I'll share my contact with you if you are interested in any kind of investment in my company or my initiatives, or in opportunities to collaborate or partner up on work that could help your organizations, your teams, your schools, your institutions. Also, let me know, and we can carry conversation from there. That would be the most efficient way to do it. The other thing, I definitely encourage you to do a little bit of research every day. Get yourself familiar with what kind of organizations out there that are supporting women and children, and see if you could donate a little bit of money here and there just to help them out. A lot of these organizations are non-for-profit, so whatever you could do to help, it's going to be greatly appreciated.
Well said, well done. Just two ways that you guys can help is in terms of we're looking for investments, and which allows us to build an asset base that will enable us to empower a lot more women, and two, in terms of programs. If you guys know of any sort of female-led programs that help empower women internationally, we're looking for those women so we can actually bring them on board and provide an education and capital to them so they can lift themselves out of poverty.
So we're a nonprofit. Obviously, we are operating on a small scale. So we have people reaching out to us to have us come to New York in 2 days, or even come to Spain or Canada. And so obviously we need funding to do that. But most importantly, just come connect with me and support and reach out to me. I'd love to collaborate with you and talk to you. At Girl Talk Network is my Instagram, and then girltalknetwork.org. Just any awareness, or just for you to leave today and do your own mission is what really helps me. So
I'm going to echo a little bit of this, that we have an opportunity to take Surefire to the United Nations. So we're obviously looking for a funder for that, which would be fantastic. And then I would say the second thing is, again, we're a spotlight. So we serve to spotlight organizations that are doing awesome stuff. So if you have an organization in LA, or actually anywhere around the country, we're happy to tweet, Facebook, do whatever, and shine the light on your mission. So we want to help you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing everything with us.